very much, Dr.
Yeah.
for nice introduction. So I think, I think all the participants are here maybe. Okay, we can start now. Thank you very much. Okay. So in today's lecture, I'm mainly going to cover the recent developments that have happened in the single channel speech enhancement. I don't give you much introduction of speech enhancement and why speech enhancement is required, because all of you are working in speech. Just now I am got the information from organizers. Okay, and the word itself says enhancement means basically we have a speech signal that is collected in the noise, and we want to basically extract the clean speech signal from the noisy speech signal. So that is about speech enhancement. And of course, you can do it in multiple manners. One is you can have only one sensor, that is a single microphone, you are collecting the data. Or alternatively, you might have collected data using multiple microphones. For example, the current days, you might be using some of your Alexa boxes or Alexa Echo, basically. Okay, Amazon Echo, they call it, right? Voice assistants. It will have, the smaller one will have around 6 microphones and the bigger one will have 8 microphones, multiple microphones. Okay, so typically multiple microphones will come handy when there is room reverberation also present in the data. On the other hand, typically when there is only one microphone, we will handle only the additive noise. We do not handle the room reverberation responses. So in throughout this talk, I will assume that we are having a speech signal that is collected using a single microphone, and the data that is collected is actually corrupted by additive noise. I do not consider any reverberant noise or convolutive noises. Only additive noise will be considered in this talk. Okay. And coming to the speech enhancement, so whether it is multiple microphones or single microphones, you can have two distinct paths to follow for speech enhancement. So first path is, okay, let us try to actually estimate the noise characteristics and suppress them. Okay, that is what we call it as noise suppression. So you will have algorithms that call it as noise suppression. Okay, or some people may call it as speech enhancement itself, but actually they will be doing noise suppression. So noise suppression is the task of estimating the noise characteristics in order to suppress them or in order to cancel them. On the other hand, if you really want to talk about speech enhancement, so that is about basically modeling the speech characteristics in order to enhance them. What do you mean by modeling the speech characteristics? Because the production characteristics of the speech signal. Okay, so speech signal has a specific system that produces it. Several articulators function in coordination to produce the speech signal. So there is basically a voice source which is exciting the vocal tract system. So there are certain characteristics of the voice source and there are certain characteristics of the vocal tract system, which in principle we can take advantage of in order to enhance the speech signal. Okay, so you can take advantage of speech signal in order to highlight them. Okay, that is what should be called as speech enhancement. Okay, but there could be other approaches where you try to estimate the noise characteristics in order to suppress them. That should be called as noise suppression, but that is also we call it under speech enhancement itself. So that is why I said that these two are typical approaches for speech enhancement. Okay, but in the case of noise suppression, noise is something basically which we cannot anticipate a priori, or those characteristics we cannot anticipate a priori unless and otherwise you know that the environment is going to be the same all the time. Okay, so if the environment is changing, for example, if I'm taking
the slides are not moving. Are you discussing first slide only?
I'm talking about first slide only. I'm not
no
moving.
No problem. Then go ahead. Yeah. I thought you are discussing other slide also. Okay.
No. Okay. So if we are talking about noise suppression, the problem is, if let us say that if you are moving from one environment to the another environment, because nowadays it's very common for us to take the mobile phone, okay, we glue it to our ears and keep walking on the road and talking. Okay, so what happens is in the process, the environment, the background noise is changing completely. So how can we model a non-stationary noise? The noisy characteristics are changing with time. Okay, so if you are in a railway station, the noise characteristics will be different, and if you are sitting in a living room, the noise characteristics will be different. So the question is, is modeling the noise the correct way to suppress that? Okay, or should we go for the what is that? Caching on the speech characteristics. Okay, these two are two main philosophical ideas that I am leaving it to you. You can think about it. There are enough number of papers and enough number of theses that are written on noise suppression, and there are equal number of methods that are written, or speech enhancement methods that are there in the means exploiting the speech characteristics. Okay. Okay, so I will briefly discuss about both of them, and I will highlight where what is considered. Okay, so let us consider it with the good old problem. Okay, what was about speech enhancement? What kind of problems that we have actually tried to address in around 70s and 80s? Okay, so in early days of speech enhancement, okay, it used to be about actually building the classical filters to suppress some kind of a noise. Okay. For example, what do I mean by classical filter for enhancing the speech signal? Okay, suppose nowadays these online meetings are quite common. Okay, so when you connect your laptop to the powers, okay, typically sometimes we ran out of power, so we'll switch on the AC powers and then we will have a meeting. So when the moment you switch on the AC powers, okay, if your laptop is not of a good quality, the opposite person will complain that there is some noise coming. Okay, where is that noise coming from? That noise is coming basically from the power line. That is what we call it as power line noise. Okay, if we are having, depending on the country, you might be having a 60 Hz power getting transmitted at 60 Hz, or the power getting transmitted at 50 Hz basically. Okay, so we will have that the power line sinusoid gets added because it is not completely suppressed when the battery is getting charged on your laptop. The same thing will be picked up by the some of the noise of that noise gets picked up by your sensors also, and it gets mixed along with your speech signal. Okay, so in those cases we know precisely that it is the power line that is corrupting, because when the switch is off, when the laptop is not charged, when you are basically running the laptop on the battery, he did not perceive any noise. The moment you switch on the power line, the other guy complains that there is some noise from your side. So you know that it is mainly because of the power line that is coming from the 50 Hz noise or 60 Hz noise. Okay, so if you want to suppress that noise, okay, since you know exactly the noise characteristics, in this case, for this application, I need not actually look for what are the speech characteristics and things like that. Okay, in this case, I know that it is the 50 Hz sinusoid that is corrupting my desired signal. Okay, so throughout my talk, okay, my notation is D of n is the desired speech signal. It is the desired speech signal. V of n is the additive noise, and X of n is equal to D of n plus V of n is the noisy observation. So what we have access to is only this X of n. Okay, so at the time of enhancement, we do not have access to the individual D of n and V of n. Okay, we have this X of n. I want to basically enhance, or I want to basically retrieve this D of n. Okay, retrieve the clean speech signal from the X of n. So that is what is our goal. Okay, so in the case of classical filters, we know the noise characteristics. That means that we know that it is getting distorted by a 50 Hz sinusoid. So I want to suppress this 50 Hz sinusoid. So how do we go about it? What we'll try to do is, I need to suppress a specific frequency. So I will try to design basically a notch filter. Okay, I will try to design a notch filter like this, whose frequency response is like this, which passes all the frequencies with a gain of 1, and it suppresses the particular 50 Hz sinusoid, because that is what is causing the noise. And thankfully 50 Hz, we will not have much speech content also in that range. So typically even the pitch period itself, pitch frequency itself starts at around basically 80 Hz to 100 Hz. Okay, and the formant frequencies for the speech signal will start from around 280 Hz. That too for the sounds like E. Okay, for sounds like the formats will be starts from at around 700 Hz. So we are safe. 50 Hz, there is no much interference with the speech content. Okay, and 50 Hz is the region where the noise is there. So that is why I'm calling it as we have a known noise. That means that we have that the noise is at 50 Hz. And we know that the noise is stationary because the power lines we are getting a 50 Hz sinusoid continuously. Okay, so noise is stationary. That means that the frequency is not changing from one time it is 50 Hz, another time it is 150 Hz, and third time it is 250 Hz. It's not changing like that. We are having a 50 Hz noise that is getting added. That is what I call it as stationary noise. The characteristics of the noise are not changing with the time. And thankfully, it is non-overlapping band. It is not affecting the speech regions much. Okay, so in those cases, what you need to do is we will try to basically build a notch filter, okay, and pass the speech signal through this notch filter to get the estimated speech or estimated clean speech. So in this case, this is a notch filter. WN is the impulse response of a notch filter, which is tuned to stay at 50 Hz. The notch is at 50 Hz. Okay, you can simply design this basically. So if you want to design a notch filter, you try to keep 2 zeros at 50 Hz. Okay, since you are keeping the zeros, you need not worry about whether you are keeping inside the unit circle or outside the unit circle also, because it's going to be an FIR filter, and we need not worry about the stability of the FIR filter. Okay, so we can design these things. In fact, if you see the 1970s and 1980s, all the work in speech enhancement, if you see, it is precisely about designing classical filters. Okay, designing a 50 Hz notch to remove the power line. Okay, or designing a 3,300 to 300 to 3,400 band pass filter to remove any noise outside the telephone bandwidth range. Okay, because anything else would have been caused by the outside range. Okay, so we know exactly the regions in which either the speech lie or the noise lie, and we used to try to basically estimate what are called static filters. Call them as static filters because the filter coefficient are not designed. You recomputed and prefixed, and then what you will do is you just basically pass your speech signal through that and get the enhanced signal. So d hat of n, we wanted it to be as close as possible to the clean speech signal. So the estimated or retrieved speech signal is the noisy speech signal x of n filtered through the notch filter that is designed by us. Okay, so what are the issues here? The coefficients WN are predetermined. Okay, predetermined to basically to stay at around those 50 Hz. We are trying to put 2 zeros at the 50 Hz so that the 50 Hz sinusoid is removed. Okay, but what if the noise characteristics are not known? Okay, we are speaking somewhere. Okay, in this case, example, the power line noise, I know exactly. Suppose if you are talking from basically you went to a room where the noise AC is making loud noise, okay, or there is a lot of fan noise in some place. Okay, so how do I basically at that point, how do I sit and identify what is the frequency content of the fan noise, or what is the spectral those situations where the noise is on basically our clean speech signal, but in this case V of n is unknown. Earlier case we know that V of n is a 50 Hz sinusoid that is getting added. The slide did not change. Okay, so in this case V of n, know that it is, we are having an unknown noise. That means that the noise characteristics are not known to us. Okay, it is getting added to x of n. So now how can I design this filter? How can I design a filter to filter out the unknown noise characteristics. That means the noise characteristics are not known to us. Okay, so depending on the room that you are staying in, or depending on the environment that you are walking in, the noise characteristic is different. Okay, but then we want to basically get a y of n which is as close as possible to the desired signal d hat of n, or in other words, in the Wiener filtering terms, we will say that I want to actually estimate the desired signal such a way that the error signal E of n, which can be written as desired signal minus, notice the word best, or a good word is optimal. Design the optimal filter, okay, that estimates. It's all about unknown. We have assumptions. The assumptions are basically the noise is unknown, but we assume that the noise is stationary. As long as you are in that room with that AC on, the AC noise characteristics are same. The AC noise is not changing with time. So we assume that it is a stationary noise. But we do not have any characteristics of that. So it is unknown noise, but it is stationary noise. That means that it's if you consider the noise is a random process, basically, then we assume that at least the first and second order statistics of the noise are not changing with time. If not stationarity, we have to at least enforce White's stationarity. Okay, and we also have one more assumption. The other assumption that we have is the noise is uncorrelated with the speech signal. Notice the word uncorrelated. So this is not the case in the case of if you have reverberant sounds where we are having your speech signal going and hitting a wall and getting a reflection. So the reflection will be correlated with your original direct component. So this method will not work directly for if the reverberant component is there. So this is, we are having two different sources. Okay, we do not, these two sources are basically are uncorrelated. Okay, so in those cases, now our goal is optimal filter coefficient and minimize the error. Okay, so to minimize the error, first what we will try to get, let us get the estimated signal. Okay, so let us say that we have a WN. Okay, so if you have the filter coefficients, I will filter out the noisy speech signal X of n. This is the noisy speech signal, and we will get an estimate of the desired y of n is the estimate of the desired signal. Okay, take the speaker and fit out as case we call them a Wiener basically, and get estimated signal or the desired signal out. Okay, now the question is, how should be this estimated signal, or what kind of filter coefficients should I use? Because the noise characteristics are not known. Earlier I know that it is 50 Hz, so I designed a nice notch filter there and put the filter coefficients directly. But here I don't have the filter coefficients like that. I need to estimate optimal filter coefficients to do this job. Okay, so what we will do for this is we will define the error in the estimation. So if WKs are there, I can get this d hat of n. Now I can define the error E of n as d of n minus d hat of n. Okay, that is desired signal minus its estimate. We want this error in the estimation, the innovation, this one, we want the energy of this error signal should be as minimum as possible. Okay, so what we can do is, in that case, okay, the error between the estimated signal and the desired signal. If the desired signal, if you are exactly able to retrieve it, the error should be 0 basically. Okay, so since E of n, we can have both positive errors as well as negative errors. If I directly take expectation of E of n, we feel that the error is 0. Actually, large positive errors get cancelled with the large negative errors. So that is not the optimal way to go for. So instead, what we will try to minimize is expectation of E square of n. Squared error, sum of the squared error is what we will try to minimize. Okay. So the Wiener estimates, how we will do? Estimate the filter coefficients. Okay, that minimize the mean squared error. Okay, that is expectation of mod of En square. Okay, what is this En? Expectation of desired signal minus estimate of the desired signal whole square. Okay, immediately you must have got a doubt. Okay, what is that doubt? What should be the doubt? You should have got it if you have not seen this formulation earlier. How do I get the desired signal? Okay, if I have the desired signal, why do I do all this process? If I have the close speaking microphone or the clean speech signal, why do I need a filter? I don't even need the filter. It is all this is because of D of n is not there with me. Okay, all our struggle is we are observing the signal in the presence of a noise. All that I am having is D of n plus V of n. The noisy speech signal is what I have. Okay, I don't have the clean speech signal, but you are saying that you get the estimate from the noisy speech signal and you compare it with the actual desired signal that you wanted. Okay, and you minimize the minimize the error. Okay, if I have the clean speech signal, why do I do all this? Okay, you will see that, okay, at the end of the solution, you will see that we don't require the desired speech signal. It is enough if we have certain statistics of the desired speech signal. Okay, if we can estimate some statistics of the desired speech signal, that is enough. We don't require actually the complete desired speech signal. So for now, you bear with me and you feel believe me that you don't require a desired speech signal, even though the objective function is looking like that. At the end of it, I will show you that it is not required. Desired speech signal is not required. You can actually do this enhancement by having certain characteristics or certain statistics of the desired speech signal. Okay. So how do you estimate any unknown coefficients? So if you have written this expression, this E of mod E of n, that is, I said that it is expectation of D of n minus D hat of n. I can write it as W of n convolved with Y of n. W of n convolved with X of n. X of n is the noisy speech signal whole square. Okay, because notice that what you are observing is the noisy speech signal, which we are passing it through the Wiener filter to get an estimate of the desired signal. This is what actually is our D hat of n. Okay. So in this equation here, you see that D of n is basically the desired speech signal. So it is not going to depend on W's. Okay. And X of n is the observed speech signal. Observed speech signal is also not going to be dependent on the W's. Okay. So only term that is going to dependent is W of n. Okay. So the filter coefficients. Okay. So what we are saying is you estimate the filter coefficients such that the objective function, that is squared error, is minimized. The expectation of the squared error is minimized basically. So what we will do, we'll just go by taking the partial derivatives. Take the partial derivative with respect to each filter coefficient and equate it to 0. Okay, so I want to compute partial derivative of the objective function with respect to the filter coefficient, the mth filter coefficient. Let us say that you are trying to estimate the enhancement filter using a 32 tap FIR filter. Okay, so for some coefficient, some 11th coefficient you want to estimate basically. So dou of JW by dou WM. If m is 11, it will be 11th coefficient. If m is 1, it will be first coefficient. Okay, you can do it for all the filter taps. You can do it. Okay, so dou J of W by dou WM is equal to dou J depends on E and E in turn depends on W. So you can write it in chain rule. So dou J by dou E multiplied by dou E by dou W is equal to 0. So if you write that dou J by dou E is 2 times E of n, okay, dou E by dou W n, it will be only x of n, because this quantity is not going to be dependent on that. Here W multiplied by x of n, it will be just x of n minus n. Okay. So you are having expectation of En into x of n minus m is equal to 0. This equation is true for m equal to 0, 1, 2, 3 up to capital M. Okay. If you are building a mth order filter, you will have m such equations and each one of the derivative should be equal to 0. Okay. So if you do this, basically now, if you assume that we are having a Whitson station, okay, that is, you write this E of n as again d of n minus d hat of n is basically W of n convolved with x of n into x of n minus m should be equal to 0. So you will have basically a term that is containing expectation of d of n into x of n minus m. Okay, expectation of d of n into x of n minus m becomes basically the cross correlation between the desired signal and the observed signal. So Rxd of m. Okay, you will have a autocorrelation term, basically x of n into x of n minus m, that becomes an autocorrelation term, Rxx of k minus m, and you will have the filter coefficients Wk. This convolution also you need to expand it as summation over Wk x of n minus k, then you will get this equation. It is straightforward, you can do that. Okay, so you will have now, okay, I can write this expectation of d of n into x of n minus m as Rxd of m only if I have the condition that the observed process and the actual process are jointly Whitson stationary. Otherwise, we cannot write this. Okay. So notice that we started with few assumptions already. We assumed that the noise is stationary. We assumed that the noise is uncorrelated with the speech signal and noise is unknown. And we also assumed that the desired signal can be obtained by linearly processing the observed signal. All these are assumptions basically. Okay. So our speech enhancement algorithm will not work if any of these assumptions are not satisfied. Okay. One more assumption that I am adding is the observed signal and the desired signal are jointly Whitson stationary, and the observed signal itself is Whitson stationary. That is how I can write x of n into x of n minus m as Rxx of k minus m. Okay. This kind of equations, you will have m such equations, m equal to 0 to capital M. You can write this equation for m such equations. So now you can see that you are having m equations and sorry, if I start with 0, I should stop at m minus 1. You will have m equations and m unknowns. So you can write it, put it in the matrix format, okay, or you can get the solution to this. Okay. So the solution is unique, but it is difficult to get it in the time domain. So what you can do it, basically, you can get it in the frequency domain. So you take the Fourier transforms on both sides. Okay, you know that the convolution becomes multiplication in the other domain. Okay, so this becomes W of j of omega. Okay, this is a convolutional relationship. Basically, Wk into some x of n minus k would have been the convolutive relationship. Okay, but now we are taking the Fourier transform, so it becomes multiplicative relationship. The Fourier transform of the autocorrelation function is the power spectrum. So Pxx power spectrum is completely real, so I am writing it as Pxx of omega only. So, and we are having on the other hand how cross relation function, the Fourier transform of the cross correlation function is a cross correlation, a cross power spectrum. So that is Pxt of cross power spectrum can be complex. So I'm writing P of j omega. So you can get the filter coefficients in the frequency domain as Pxt of j omega by Pxx of j omega. Okay. This is now what you need to do is, now I need to estimate the desired signal from the noisy observation, that is d of n plus x of omega. Now d hat of n is wn cross convolved with x of n, but now I have got the w of j omega are equivalently in the frequency domain. The estimated spectrum is equal to the estimated filter coefficients multiplied by x of j omega. So whatever is there here, I am writing it in the frequency domain. Okay, so now w of j omega, I have this equation that it is equal to pxt of j omega by pxx of omega into x of j omega. Notice that here all that I need is about the desired signal is just this cross power spectrum is all that I need. I don't need d of n. So that is why I told that even though I have written the expression as dn minus d hat of n whole square, and I will try to minimize that, we don't really require the complete d of n availability. It is enough if we have how the desired signal is related to the observed signal. At least that much is required, right? We are trying to basically retrieve the desired signal from the observed signal. We should know how they are related. If there is no relationship, we cannot retrieve the desired signal from the observed signal. If observed signal is only noise, you cannot retrieve speech signal from the noise, basically. Okay, so all that is required is how do I get this basically relationship between the observed signal and the desired signal. So let us see how do we estimate this PST. So all that we need is this cross power spectral density. Okay, so the cross power spectral density is the Fourier transform of the cross correlation function, which is defined as xn into d of n plus k for two random processes x and t. Okay, so this I can write. One more assumption is I am assuming that okay, the noise v of n is zero mean and uncorrelated with the desired signal. So noise is zero mean and uncorrelated with the desired signal. What does that mean? The cross correlation between the noise and the desired signal is zero. Okay, why do I need this assumption? Now I will write this x of n as here, whatever this x of n is there, I can write it as the desired signal plus the noise process v of n. Okay, since the expectation is a linear operator, you can write it as expectation of dn into dn plus k plus expectation of vn into dn plus k. Vn into dn plus k will be 0. So I can write this as expectation of xn into d of n plus k. This xn itself contains vn plus dn. So vn times dn will be 0 here. Okay, so we'll be left with dn into dn plus k, which is equal to rdd of k. Okay, so now we are saying that I don't even require the cross correlation spectrum also. It is enough if I know the autocorrelation function of the desired speech signal. So we don't require the how it is related also. It is enough if I have the autocorrelation function of the speech signal. Okay, so how do we get the autocorrelation function of the speech signal? Now you consider the autocorrelation function of the observed signal Rxx of k, which I can write it as Rx of k into x of n plus k, but x of k is x dn plus vn. Okay, dn plus k plus vn plus k. So you write down, okay, cross terms will get cancelled because of the first relationship. You will show that the Rxx of k is equal to Rdd of k plus Rvv of k. So what are we saying? Autocorrelation of the observed signal is equal to the autocorrelation of the clean speech signal plus autocorrelation of the noise. Okay, so that means that if the sources are uncorrelated, autocorrelation functions are additive. All that we are saying is if we are having uncorrelated random variables, autocorrelation functions are additive. So that is what we have shown here. We will use this property. So now Rxx of k I can compute because Rxx of k is something that is computed as the autocorrelation function of the observed signal. I have xn with me. So from xn, I know how to compute the autocorrelation function. So I can compute the autocorrelation function, but we also know that it is equal to the autocorrelation function of desired signal plus the autocorrelation function of the observed signal. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to do an estimation of the autocorrelation signal, basically from estimate the ACS of the observed signal from the noisy speech signal. Okay, so if I take a noisy signal region, that means that a region where I am speaking. Okay, so in that region, I have the desired speech signal as well as the noise speech signal. So in this region, if I take the autocorrelation function of the of the observed signal, it will be an addition of desired plus noise. On the other hand, sometimes when I'm speaking, I have to take a pause also, at least to take the breath. Okay. So in those regions, there will be silence. Okay. In the silence region, D of n is equal to 0 because I am not speaking. The speech signal is 0. So if I take autocorrelation only in the silence region, what do I get? I will get RVV. Okay, and I am assuming that the noise is stationary throughout. Noise is not changing with time. So when I am silent, whatever noise characteristics are there, the same characteristics are going to continue when I am speaking also. So the noise characteristics are not changing with time. What I can do is I can take the noise characteristics that are estimated during the silence region and I can bring it and subtract it during the speech region to get the RVD. So from the silence region, estimate RVV and subtract it from RXX minus RVV will give you RDD. So from this equation, you take this and you subtract it to get the RDD. So if you have the RDD, you can basically use your previous expression that I have proved, that is PXD by PDD. You can use it and you can get the solution. Okay. So the autocorrelation function of the noise can be estimated from noise only region. Okay, autocorrelation of the noise plus speech signal can be estimated in the noisy signal region, and you can estimate the desired signal, autocorrelation of the desired signal RDD, okay, by subtracting the noise autocorrelation function of the noise from the autocorrelation function of the speech signal. Do not directly subtract the waveforms. Waveforms, these kinds of relationship will not appear because the phase could be different and the samples that are getting added could be different. Autocorrelation functions can be subtracted, not the waveforms. Okay, so we can subtract RXX minus REV to get the RDD, the autocorrelation function of the desired speech signal, and we have shown that RXT is equal to RDD. Okay, so in the previous expression, what do I have? I have PXD by PXX. Okay, but PXD now is equal to PDD because RXT is equal to RDD. So you have PDD, you have PXX because you have RDD with you, you have RXX with you. Okay, everything is available to you. Now you are good to go and do the speech enhancement. So let us do the speech enhancement here. So we have a clean speech signal which is not known to us, which is not given to us. Okay, what is given is noisy speech signal. A highly noisy speech signal is given to us. Okay, from the noisy speech signal, somehow I have used some kind of a speech non-speech detector. Okay, so there are lots of work that is going on in what is under the name of voice activity detector or speech activity detection. Okay, so there are methods to see where there is speech signal is present or when the person is silent, basically. So let us say that let us assume that we have a speech activity detector with us. That means that we know where the speech signal is occurring. Somebody is telling this VAD decision to us, voice activity detection. So what I will do is, now I will go to the silence regions. In this region, I will estimate RVV, the autocorrelation function of the noisy speech signal. Okay, and then what I will do is I will subtract it from the RXX. If I subtract it from RXX, what I will get is basically the RDD. Okay, so which is equal to, if I subtract the power spectrum of the noisy speech signal minus power spectrum of the noise. Okay, so in this region I will compute PXX. In this region I will compute PVV. Okay, so PXX minus PVV will give me PDD basically. So that is what the top numerator. Denominator is PXX. You compute it in the speech regions and multiply it with X of j omega, because the same equation that we got from the Wiener filter, this is how we will implement. Okay, so applying ergodic estimates, that means that we are assuming that the time averages are equal to the ensemble averages. Okay, we will replace the time averages also with ensemble averages with the time averages by assuming that the process is ergodic. Okay, you can simply show that the Wiener filter that we have derived can be implemented as go and compute. Okay, you take a small frame of speech signal in this region and compute its Fourier transform. Okay, and take its magnitude. Take a small frame of noisy speech signal, compute its Fourier transform, okay, and take its magnitude, subtract the magnitudes and divide by the magnitude of the noisy speech signal into the noisy speech signal. So this is what you will get as d hat of j omega. Take inverse Fourier transform of this to get the clean speech signal. Okay, this is what is also called as under the title of spectral subtraction. So the spectral subtraction method is basically, we think that the spectral subtraction is a intuitive method. Okay, what the spectral subtraction means? Okay, we assume that the noise characteristics are not changing with time. Go to the silence region, estimate the noise characteristics, bring those noise characteristics and subtract it from the noisy speech characteristics. Since noise is subtracted, our this one is hope is only speech gets remained. Okay, so that is what spectral subtraction. But we can actually prove that the spectral subtraction method is actually optimal under mean squared sense when we apply the Wiener filter. Okay, so finally, if you do that, there are enhanced speech signal looks like this. Okay, notice that the some noise is removed, but still the noise is some amount of noise or noise floor is still remaining. Okay, but this method I will classify it as basically estimating the noise characteristics in order to suppress them, because you are first identifying the silence regions, estimating the characteristics of the noise in the silence regions, and you are subtracting them to enhance the speech signal. Okay, so the summary of the Wiener filters goes like this. Okay, so the desired speech signal is linearly related to the observed signal. That means that by filtering the observed signal through a linear time invariant filter, we are assuming that we can get the speech signal, desired speech signal. So that is why we say that desired speech is linearly related to the observed speech signal. And we also assume that the noise is uncorrelated with the desired signal. Otherwise, I could not have written that RXT is equal to RDD plus RDD, or RXX equal to RDD plus RVV. All those derivations are heavily dependent on this uncorrelated assumption. Okay, so if that is the case, what we are doing is, if these two conditions are satisfying, go and estimate the noise characteristics. Okay, so when the noise is slowly varying with time, what we will do is, okay, we do not just depend on only the previous silence region. Basically, we'll try to update the noise characteristics slowly, okay, by using a forgetting factor rho. Okay, so rho times the previous noise estimate plus 1 minus rho times the current estimate. If you rho is equal to 1, that means that you are giving complete importance to the previous estimate. If your rho is equal to 0, you are giving complete importance to the current estimate. Typically, we will maintain rho to be equal to some 0.9 or something. That means you give a lot of importance to the previous estimate, but give a small importance to the current estimate also. Okay, so estimate noise like this. Okay, and then subtract the noise from the speech signal. Okay, but the take home message is, ultimately the Wiener filter enhances only the magnitude spectrum. It does not enhance the phase spectrum. Why? Because you just recall the final implementation of the Wiener filter. It just goes like this: x of j omega whole square minus mod v of j omega whole square by mod x of j omega whole square into x of j omega. Okay, this is magnitude term. This is also magnitude term. So both are real. This entire quantity is a real quantity. Okay, this is a complex spectrum, but you are multiplying the complex spectrum with a real quantity. It is going to affect only the magnitude. It is not going to affect the phase. So that is why we will say that Wiener filters do not offer basically any enhancement to the phase. It only enhances the magnitude spectrum. We should know the limitations also, where it is going to fail. Okay, so if there are noises that where the phase distortion is more, then the Wiener filter will not work in its original formulation. You have to formulate it differently to enhance the phase. Okay, so the phase of the noisy speech signal is reused in the signal reconstruction. Okay, so finally, if you see what are we doing basically in the Wiener filtering, all that I am trying to do, I can interpret it as basically the Wiener filter can be interpreted as the clean speech power by the noisy speech power, because x of j omega whole square minus v of j omega whole square is the clean signal power divided by the noise signal power. We are just taking the ratio of clean speech signal power to the noisy speech signal power and multiplying it with the noisy speech spectrum and taking the inverse Fourier transform. So all that we are doing is getting this ratio. We are interested in getting this ratio. So in the Wiener filtering, we are trying to get it by basically doing this kind of a approximation to get this clean signal power to the noisy signal power. So in the case of Wiener filters, we use the noisy speech signal alone to estimate this quantity. On the other hand, now the recent approaches, deep neural network methods, they also estimate this ratio only, okay, but through supervised learning. Okay, we assume that we have lots of clean speech data and the corresponding the noisy speech data. We have basically noisy speech and their corresponding clean speech. Okay, or if you don't have only noise only, right, we take the clean speech signal and add the noise to that and create noisy speech data. Okay, and then try to learn a neural network, DNN, that takes the noisy speech spectrum as input and estimates this ratio, the desired ratio. Okay, that is clean speech power to the noisy speech power ratio, it estimates, so that at the time of enhancement, okay, we don't have the system, but trained neural network is there. Give x of j omega, it estimates the ratio, then ratio multiplied by x of j omega is what you need to get the desired speech signal, and you can enhance the speech signal. Okay, so just going back, so it is this particular ratio, whatever we are estimating from the current signal. In the case of Wiener filters, we will estimate this from the given signal only, but in the case of DNNs, we will use a DNN to estimate this ratio. Okay, so before I start up with the deep neural networks on estimating this ratio, do you have any questions till this point on Wiener filters, or can I go ahead?
I think somebody has written some question in the chat box. Actually, Manish Madhav Tripathi, he has a question. Why
I
you
am not looking at. Okay.
Can you read this question? Manish Madhav Tripathi, can you ask the question? I think he is not responding.
Okay, okay, fine. So can I go ahead in that case?
I think better to go ahead and then at last students will ask question. Okay.
Oh, sure, sure.
Okay, okay. Then, okay.
And somebody has written his voice is breaking. I have only one network here. So
why is it
let me know.
breaking? Now it's okay. But
Okay, fine.
yeah, now it's fine. But there was a problem. You just take care. Okay. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
So now our goal is to estimate this ratio if we are working in the frequency domain approaches. Okay, before coming to that, I will just give you the overall idea of what are all the possible DNN approaches are there for speech enhancement. Okay, again, our idea is we have the speech signal that is corrupted by additive noise. Okay, that is speech signal plus additive noise is considered as the noisy mixture that is available to us. We have direct time domain approaches. Okay, just like we have basically estimated a WN in the classical filter using a linear filter and directly estimated. We did not talk about frequency domain and things like that there. We put the filter coefficients and we have just convolved it. Okay, in a similar manner, we can have time domain approaches which take the waveform, Okay, that is, it takes a noisy signal waveform x of n as input. This is a DNN, and it produces the estimated signal d hat of n. Okay, those are called time domain approaches. Okay, and we have equivalently the frequency domain approaches, which operate in the short time Fourier transform domain, or there are basically this Cochlear-Graham transform domain or Mel spectral domain. Okay, so you all are basically derived from the STFT only. You do small processing on that to give perceptual importance and derive a slightly different representation, but all of them are related to STFT. So I just put them as the frequency domain of approaches that operate in the short time Fourier transform domain. Okay, in the short time Fourier transform domain also we have the spectral regression. That means directly estimate the spectrum of the speech signal, from the spectrum of the noisy speech signal, or alternatively you estimate that ratio that I have discussed in the Wiener filters. So you estimate this ratio. In the case of neural networks, we call it as mask. That ratio mask, basically you estimate that ratio that we have discussed in the Wiener filters and multiply it with the observed speech signal in order to retrieve the actual clean speech signal. I think there is a mistake in the equation. Okay, so this should be d hat, should be multiply the ST of noisy signal in order to get the STFT of the clean signal to get the clean speech signal. Okay, so frequency domain operate typically, some of them operate in only on the magnitude, like in the case of Wiener filters, but there are some algorithms. So why do basically restrict ourselves to enhance only the magnitude? We can enhance the phase also, okay, by training what are called neural networks with complex weights. You write a neural networks where the weights are complex rather than real, okay, and enhance the signal in the complex spectral domain, not just in the magnitude spectral domain. Okay, just a quick view on time domain approaches. Okay, I have told you that we are directly regressing the waveform of the clean speech signal from the waveform of the noisy speech signal. So the weights are directly operating on the waveforms here. Okay, so there are methods like WaveNet, TASNet, and RHRNet. These are all the basically networks that are available for the waveform domain enhancement in the time domain. What are the advantages of these methods? Okay, since in the time domain we don't separate the magnitude and phase separately, so we are directly working on the waveform, so phase is implicitly taken care of. Okay, so the enhancement of the phase is implicitly taken care of in the time domain approaches. That is why typically you will get an enhanced speech to be more intelligible. Okay, so that means intelligible means you are able to identify what are the words that are obtained. So you will come across two words. One is perceptibility, another is intelligibility. Okay, so perceptibility is whether you are perceiving the noise. Is there the noisy background available? Intelligibility is, are you able to basically make out the words? Sometimes you will say that you will see some enhancement algorithms, the noise will be completely suppressed. Okay, but if I asked you what is the sentence, you will not be able to tell. That means that speech characteristics are also disturbed. You feel that there is no noise, but still the distortion in the speech, you will not be able to tell what are the words. Okay, so there could be some algorithms where you are able to make out the words, but the background noise is not completely suppressed. These are two basically trade-offs, perceptibility and intelligibility. If you increase one, the other one will basically not get affected. Okay, and time domain approaches offer you very compact models. You will model sizes, number of parameters to be just 10 parameters or parameters. Okay, million parameters is considered very small in deep neural networks. Okay, So typical methods can go up to 50 million parameters or even 100 million parameters are also enhanced. But when it comes to time domain approaches, it offers you very small networks. That is 1 million parameters or 2 million parameters, you can get very good enhancement. Okay, but one thing that we have to notice in deep learning is just because the number of parameters is less, computation need not be less. Okay, because in the time domain approach, you are working on every sample in the speech signal. If you are having a speech signal sampled at 16,000 Hz, you have to work on each and every sample in 1 second. In 16,000 samples you have to process. Okay, just because the number of parameters are just 2 million, it does not mean that it has lower computation. The computation of the time domain approaches is quite high, basically. Okay, it requires a large number of floating point operations in order to enhance the signal sample by sample. Okay, one more thing that we need to consider here is when you are giving directly x of n as the input and collecting d of n as output, okay, since this network is non-linear, we are not talking about a linear filter now, non-linear filters now we are talking about. If you give basically, okay, alpha times x, okay, if I give you alpha times x as input, you will not get alpha times dn as output basically. Okay, but when it comes to xn and alpha times xn, a constant multiplication of a signal does not change the information content. Okay, you will not say that just because I play a song at a lower volume, you will not say that this song is a different song. Okay, or somebody likes to listen to a song at a higher volume, some people likes to listen to the song at lower volume, but the song content is same. So the signal characteristics or signal information does not change, okay, by multiplying it with a alpha. Okay, so f of alpha times y is not equal to alpha times f of y in the case of nonlinear filters. So you will typically observe that when you come across time domain approaches, in some cases your microphone sensitivity may be lower, so you may be getting 0.9 x of n. Okay, so if you give that, immediately you will observe that there is a big decrement in the performance of the system. Okay, you will observe that the performance of the system goes down by linear multiplications. This should not be the case. None of the linear filters that we study in signal processing gets affected by linear multiplication factor. But this is the problem with the neural networks when we talk about the time domain methods. Okay, this you should keep in mind if you are working on the time domain methods. Okay, and coming to the frequency domain methods, most of the frequency domain methods operate in the magnitude of the STFT because it is difficult to process the phase. However, there are certain methods where the complex weighted neural networks are coming up nowadays. Okay, the computational overhead. Okay, frequency domain methods have to suffer from the computational overhead of doing a Fourier transform and inverse Fourier transform. Okay, and there are spectral regression methods and spectral masking methods. Spectral regression methods, like I have discussed in the case of time domain methods, okay, they are also susceptible to linear scaling. Okay, and loss functions on spectral masks may not be spectral magnitudes may not be directly relevant. Okay, so one more thing that I want to tell you here is spectral regression. Okay, so it does not matter whether it is you are regressing a time domain waveform from a noisy time domain signal, or in the frequency domain you might be regressing the magnitude of the clean speech signal from the magnitude of the noisy speech signal. Okay, so of course these are estimations. Okay, so now one thing that you have to notice is I might be having the same signal degraded at, let us say, 10 dB. Okay, d of n degraded at 10 dB, let me call it as x10 of n. D of n degraded at 15 dB degradation, it is x15 of n. D of n degraded at 0 dB signal, it is x0 of n. Okay, just to differentiate. Okay, I can take a clean speech signal and add noise at any SNR, right? Each one of them is different noisy signal. One is a 0 dB noise signal, and is a 15 dB noise signal, another is a 10 dB. So all these signals, the output should be same. D of n is the output for all of them. So if you consider pose the enhancement problem as a regression problem, it becomes a many to one problem. Okay, it becomes a many to one problem. Is my screen getting updated?
Yes, it is getting updated, no problem.
Okay, so it is a
okay.
many to one. So many to one problem is always a difficult problem to solve. That means that a 0 dB signal also should get mapped to the same. 15 dB signal also should get mapped to the same clean signal, because clean signal is same for all those noisy signals. Many to one problem is a lot more difficult to solve. It poses a huge the neural network these many to one relationships. Okay, so that is why spectral regression is not very commonly used much. Okay, it is the spectral masking is what that is used. Okay, that is what I am going to discuss more in detail. It is the spectral masking, that is what is the relative of our Wiener filter in the original adaptive signal processing case. Okay, so now coming to the magnitude only to the complex domain. If you use only the magnitude only processing, okay, noisy phase is reused in the reconstruction, just like in the case of the what is that Wiener filters. Okay. On the other hand, complex networks, of course, it requires double the number of parameters, because each weight is a complex number now. Okay. Plus, it is not very well studied about when it comes to the complex networks, how to define a non-linearity in the complex domain. What do you mean by ReLU non-linearity? ReLU non-linearity, rectified linear unit in the real domain means as long as it is negative, it should be zero. When it is positive, it passes. It is like our diode basically. Okay, but what do you mean by the ReLU non-linearity in the frequency domain? I have a real part and imaginary part. Should I apply it on real part, or should I apply it on imaginary part, or should I apply it on magnitude or phase? Okay, so ReLU, the non-linearity is not at all well understood in the case of complex networks. Okay, and one more problem in the complex networks is basically the complex masks are not bounded. That means that they can range from minus infinity to plus infinity if I create a complex mask. On the other hand, the real mask that I have derived in the case of a Wiener filter, which we are going to use it as a mask, we can restrict it from 0 to 1 or minus 1 to plus 1. Okay, but complex masks are not, okay, are not bounded. If something is not bounded, it is difficult to actually train the network. Okay, so the complex networks may offer improvement only when for correlated noise. That means that when the noise is correlated, like in the case of when I am talking about the reverberant noise. So in the case of reverberant noise, I'm getting the reflections. So in order to remove a reflection, I have to shift the original speech signal and subtract. That shifting phase should be there, because any time shift requires phase. So that is where complex networks may be useful, where we have the reverberant noise, or when you have a noise at very low SNRs, then in those cases the phase will come into picture. Otherwise, up to 0 dB, what we have observed is, okay, you will not require much of the phase information to reconstruct. But if you have speech signals at minus 5 dB, minus 10 dB, very low noisy conditions, phase is extremely crucial. You will not be able to reconstruct the original speech signal without enhancing the phase. Okay, but this is only empirical result. I don't have any theoretical results as of now. Okay, so frequency domain masking. How do we go about doing this frequency masking? Okay. So there are several masks that are defined. Okay, just recall our the ratio that we have proved in the Wiener filters. We have shown that it should be equal to the PDD by PXX. Okay, so that's if PXX is equal to PDD plus PVV. Okay, so either I can put x of n of k whole square or v of n of k whole square. So it does not matter. So all that I am looking is basically whether a particular time frequency. Okay, here n refers to time in the STFT transform, k refers to frequency bin. Okay, suppose I have several time frequency bins in the Fourier or STFT domain. Okay, in the time frequency bins, what are the bins where the signal energy is dominating? That means the d of n of k by v of n of k whole square is greater than theta. Suppose if I put it as 1, that means that the signal energy should be greater than noise energy. So then I will say that I will keep those bins if signal energy is lower than the noise energy. That means that noise energy is dominating in certain frequency bins. Okay, there are frequency bins, there are time bins, okay, where the noise energy is higher. So I will suppress them. So that is what this 1 and 0. So I will keep 1 in my mask where the signal energy is higher. I will keep 0 where the noise energy is higher. So this is quite intuitive. Okay, which basically can be obtained by thresholding the Wiener filter. Okay, by thresholding the Wiener filter, what we get is what we call it ideal binary mask. Okay, but binary mask unnecessary quantization, right? So you are arbitrarily deciding a theta. Okay, so depending on the value of theta, sometimes you are putting a 1. Okay, 1.01 you are putting a 1 if this quantity is greater than, if your theta is 1.9 you are putting a 0. Okay, so immediately you will see that okay, there is a huge basically injustice around that thresholding constant. So let us not threshold anything, let us keep the ratio as it is. So that is what the ideal ratio mask will do. Okay, so d of n of k whole square by d of n of k by plus v. Okay, notice that these are all basically these magnitude squares are equivalent to the power factor, so that is PDD by PDD plus PVV. Okay, this is exactly the Wiener filter that we have derived. If we use it, that is what is called as ideal ratio mask. Okay, but ideal ratio mask requires access to both the clean speech signal as well as the noise that is getting added. Okay, clean speech signal we should have access to, and the noise that is getting added to we should have access to. Okay, typically when we are collecting, of course, if you are adding the data on your computer using just a computer program, take the noise, generate the noise, take the clean speech signal and add both of them, we will have access to both D and V. Okay, but to make it somewhat realistic, what we will do is you will basically create your noisy environment. Suppose if you want to create a filter for the AC noise, or you want to create a filter for your fan noise or a factory noise. Okay, what you will go do is you will go to the factory physically, you will take a speaker there and you play the noise. You play the speech signal from there and you collect it using a microphone. Okay, so that you are playing from the speaker, because the clean speech signal is available. Whatever you are playing is the clean speech signal, and what you have collected is the noisy speech signal. What we do not have access to the only noise, we don't have the access. Okay, certain cases have access to the noise. Instead, we will have access to x is equal to d plus v. Noisy speech signal we have access to, clean speech signal we have access to. So one more mask that is presented that requires only the clean speech signal and noisy speech signal. We don't require v for this. Okay, that is what is called as spectral magnitude mask. Okay, so if we assume that d and v are actually uncorrelated, then mod d square plus mod v square will be equal to mod x square. Okay, so if alpha happens to be 0.5, IRM will use that's what called as spectral magnitude mask. For all these things, the basis is the Wiener filter. We derive. Okay, so spectral magnitude mask. Notice that all these three masks in enhancement phase. So for incorporative mask, so I can write the d of n of k into e power j angle d I can write the denominator as x into j angle x. Okay, so I take it top, this go and becomes the problem that sensitive masking is basically negative also, because the cosine can go negative certain times. Okay, whereas SMM is purely positive, and SMM most or less lies between 0 and 1, or in sometimes basically it goes up. In those cases, actually you can restrict it to 1. You will not lose any perceptible distortion. You will not find. Okay, so
Hello, hello, Ramut sir, you are not audible. Voice is not coming. Hello,
one more thing is, do not just take the real part, take ratio. Hello.
hello, yes.
Hello. Hello. Are
Sometimes you are not audible. Actually, I don't know. Sometimes
you able to see the spectrograms? I don't know, but I am on my institute network only. Okay, should I change that again? I have login. Should I continue?
you continue, but I think your slide is not visible. Some networking issue is there. It seems some networking issue. Hello. And now it's visible. Slides are visible. Hello. Hello. Professor Ramurthy, you are not audible.
Am I audible now? Hello.
Now you are audible. Yeah. Now you are audible. No
Okay.
problem. We share PPT. PPT are not coming. Okay.
I have shared it. Are you able to see?
Yeah, PPTs are not.
It
No.
is showing as shared, right?
Yeah, but there is no. I think now now it's visible. Yeah.
Okay. So these are the spectrogram of the clean speech and noisy speech. Notice that in the IRM, what are we doing? Basically, it is the clean speech divided by the noisy speech to some extent. So wherever the clean speech has higher energies, you will see that those regions are in the IRM. Okay? For example, this is region has higher energy in the clean speech. So this is coming out. Similarly, this region and this formats. Phase also along with the theta, cos theta also along with regions are phase mask. Real and imaginary parts of the complex mask. So estimating, we need to estimate both of them together. In this case, basically what you from the you are estimated from the neural network by giving noisy kilogram as the input. So this is estimated from here, and then we will multiply these two to get basically the estimated clean speech signal. So that you can see that there is a lot of different the noisy cochleogram and the estimated spectrogram basically. So all the noise that is getting with noise here got cleaned up. Okay, so you can see the things are cleaned up by the ideal ratio used by training, but then we will use the estimate of the ideal ratio masking at the time of testing. So you will give the noisy signal as input to the network, get the estimated ideal ratio mask, multiply the noisy spectrum with the ideal ratio mask, and take the inverse transform. So that is what that in the time domain you will have a clean speech signal and the corresponding spectrogram here. This is the noisy speech signal and the corresponding spectrogram. If you take the and multiply in the spectrum and take the inverse Fourier transform, this is the reconstructed speech signal. Notice that when compared to the Wiener filtering, the deep learning methods basically offered better enhancement, or it is cleaning is better, or the noise floor is much less. It almost resembles the original clean speech signal. So coming to the network architectures, what are the architectures that we use? Typically, we can use basically feed-forward architectures. Okay, but the problem with the feed-forward architectures is the current output depends only on the current input. So what do we call it as? Basically, it is a memoryless system. So it is as good as our resistance network. So if you take a circuit of only resistors, the current through any branch or voltage across any node basically at that place basically is just a function of whatever is the instantaneous inputs are there. Only that instantaneous input is going to affect the current or voltage across the resistive network. It will not have any memory elements. So in order to make it function like a memory element, or in order to create a simple resonator also, what we will do, we need a inductor and a capacitor. Okay, so in order to get some amount of memory into the network, we need other architectures also. We don't just can't live with only the feed forward architectures. So what happened in the last 10 years is there are several architectures came up to incorporate this memory. So one such simple network is basically convolutional architecture, where we will use a window of memory. So we will predefine, this is the window that I am going to use. I am going to use a convolution filter of 10 by 10. That means that your memory is 20 basically. That is 10 in the previous 10 units into 10 time instance into the previous time, and time steps into the future. Okay, so you are fixing the memory, or you are fixing the context that you are using. So it is almost like our FIR filters. FIR filters also, they will operate on a finite amount of data at any point of time over finite windowing. So that is why we have window-based methods for FIR filtering. Okay, so on the other hand, we have recurrent architecture. If you have unlimited memory, I should have infinite memory. Okay, like our IIR filter. IIR filter, we will say that, okay, the current input depends upon, the current output depends on the past output and the current input, because past output depends on the previous ones. So that way you will basically, even though equation looks a simple recurrence relationship, that recurrence relationship will have infinite memory. Okay, so that is where exactly the equation of IIR filters, if you implement it in the non-linear, they become basically recurrent networks. If you implement the equation of our FIR filters, they becomes the convolution filters. If you implement basically the just a resistive networks, basically KVL and KCL, they looks like our feed forward neural networks. Okay, and the recurrent architectures are, in theory, they can offer infinite memory. Okay, but in practice, they will forget quickly. Okay, but it is difficult to train, because IIR filters also is difficult to train. What happens in case of take stability? IIR filters you to take care of stability. Otherwise, a small thing will just blow up and the filter goes into the unstable region. Same thing happens in the recurrent neural networks also. Otherwise, RNNs were proposed way back in 98, but still people found it difficult to train. Till recently, we figured out how to train those networks by incorporating the gates and things like that. And they also suffer from vanishing gradients. Okay, and they are also very slow because you need to process sample by sample. Okay, so recurrent neural network architectures are much slower than CNNs, because CNNs, I can take this window, just it is a convolution. So if I have a GPU with lots of cores, I can do parallelly processing it. But recurrent neural networks, I cannot do parallel processing because the current sample depends on previous output. Okay, so RHR nets are recurrent architectures. Now, architectures are kind of with the transformer architectures. The problem with recurrent architectures is, even though it offers infinite memory, in practice the memory is very less. At most some 4 to 5 time steps it remember. Otherwise, afterwards it just goes. If you try to keep more memory, it goes unstable. Okay, so that is where transformer architectures have come nowadays. Okay, transformer architecture, what they will do is just only networks. Okay, but like that is, we'll processing feed forward neural networks, but we will use a sliding window on the feed forward outputs to actually get the context information, and again process using the feed forward neural networks. So it is point of time we have feed forwards only, so we went in parallel. So these are the 4 architectures. So really convolutional transformers are currently being explored a lot. Okay, because recurrent neural networks also, there are papers. Okay, but they are slow. When enhancement is something, if I am using my mobile phone, as and when I am calling my friend and talking, it should get enhanced. It should not say that you wait 2 minutes, then I will enhance. Forward it to your friend. I should be able to establish a real-time call over Vivo IP or mobile phone. So we need faster networks. So for those cases, convolutional transformer networks used. On the other hand, real-time implementation is not required, but I need good performance. already I will not go the neural network speaks and training them things like that. Already there might have been people who have done this already. So I'm skipping all these things. I will just show you the performance of different networks. Okay. Suppose there is something called a Valentini database where you can go and download it freely. Okay. So where everybody codes the results. If you apply a Wiener filter on the 132, that it is a 5, minimum value is 0. Okay, if maximum value 4.5 means if you give the clean speech signal itself as basically you will get a filter enhanced signal get locks you will 2.57 as the performance, but they suffer from linear scaling. If I give alpha times x of n, the performance just drops. Okay, RHR nets, okay, they have 2 million parameters. They claim to give a performance of it give a performance of 3.20, but actually if you implement only 148. Okay, there are several implementations available on the net. None of them use the whatever author has quoted. So that result is bit questionable. It is not reproducible. Okay, but they quote that it is 3.20, and but the work also, since it is works on direct regression from clean speech signal to the noisy speech signal to clean speech signal, linear scaling will affect in the RHR nets also. This is a complex network, complex unit. Okay, it's a very bulky network, very big network with around 50 million parameters, but it gives around a performance of 2.87. Okay, this is a transformer network which you can implement in parallel because the feed forward layers can happen in parallel. Okay, again, it's a frequency domain approach which estimates the spectral magnitude mask. It gives 3.06. Currently, TGSA or DE mucus, all of them gives around 3.06 as the PESQ. This is the state of the art in the speech enhancement. So to summarize, what we have seen is basically we started with classical filters where which the research used to happen in 70s and 80s. Okay, so the desired filter characteristics are pre-specified, and design need not depend on the signal characteristics because noise characteristics are clearly given to me, 50 Hz notch, or you need to basically design a band pass filter between 300 to 3400. Then it is all about how can I go as close as possible to the ideal filter, because all of us know that ideal filters we cannot build. All the struggle in the 70s and 80s is how to build or design a filter so that it can go as close as possible to the ideal filter with response. Okay, and then immediately we said that these things will not work if noise characteristics are not known a priori. So that is where we have seen Wiener filters. Okay, so it offers a framework for filtering the sample functions by assuming the noise as well as signal to be sample functions of a random process and assuming them to be White's and stationary. Okay, and requires explicit information about the second order statistics, which you can estimate from the silence regions in the case of speech signals. Okay, Wiener filters you can apply to any data, but the question is how do you get those second order statistics? For speech, we can get from the silence regions. Not applicable to signals that are arising in the non-stationary conditions. If their noise is changing in the background, that means that whatever noise you have estimated in the silence region, the characteristics are not matching in the speech region, then Wiener filter does not improve the performance. Okay, so neural networks, they are data dependent nonlinear transformations. We can use the time varying or temporal context networks to actually track the time varying noise or suppress the noise. Okay, feed forward neural networks can be tweaked to incorporate the sequence information, which we call it as transformer. Okay, and what is the difference in the case of Wiener filters? We know the exact theoretical guarantee things. We are critical guarantees. Particular architecture is working, you publish a paper, you go back and work much in interpretation why is working and why is working. So that is the issue with the neural network based approaches. Currently, the best. If you have any more questions on the enhancement, speech enhancement that I have discussed, one thing, the research area is open for in the case of neural networks. The design production and speech perception capabilities into the neural network. All these areas are wide open. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Professor Sri Ramurthy. Now I would like to request participants to ask questions. Hello. Any question from participant? Manish Tripathi was asking some question. Are you there?
No, sir. It is okay, sir.
You are having some question on winner filter, so you don't have question. Okay, sir. I have some basic question regarding the deep learning. Actually, in speech processing, a lot of work already done. Means from many years, people are working. So, how you look towards this problem of using deep learning for speech enhancement? In general, can you comment?
Of course. In the DSP case, we need to basically enforce the linearity and time invariance, whereas the deep neural networks do not come with that baggage. We need not have the linearity constraint. We know that none of the systems in nature are linear. Okay, but just in the DSP course, we are taught only the linearity and time invariance. We just take it and enforce it at every place, or either piecewise linearity as piecewise stationarity and piecewise time invariance we will enforce to do this. But now with neural networks, we need not enforce those kind of assumptions. But at the same time, we don't have interpretability. So there, those assumptions can lead to better interpretation. But here there are no assumptions. Since there are no assumptions, we are not able to interpret. So that is where interpretation, they are working definitely. Okay, so no question about that. They are working, they are performing better than the existing methods that were there in 10 years back. The question is, earlier 10 years back, I will be able to explain something. This is the pitch it is able to capture. This is the pitch it is able to capture. That is why it is performing better. I used to give an explanation. But now, with the deep neural network, I am not able to give that explanation. Why is it working? Still, that question, of course, I can take the second layer output, third layer output. This is capturing this format. That is only hand waving only. It is not actually concrete explanations. Still, the concrete explanations are required, and the mathematics that we do is only related to the basic linearity and time invariance. Okay, so we need a lot more mathematical background also to analyze the neural
one of the
networks.
slides you have shown PSQ performance is improved because of deep learning.
Yes.
Perceptual evaluation, speech quality.
Yes.
In one slide you mentioned that. Yeah.
Yes.
So I think a PSQ area there is a scope to improve the.
Yes, PSQ, of course, 3.06 is the state of the art, but when you see the Wiener filters, it used to be 2.32. Okay, if you listen to the signals, you will see a clear difference. Okay, but these are all the PSQs that are obtained for up to 0 dB and.
Okay. Which are other performance matrices?
Noise. So additive noise is also, all these databases are created by manually adding the data. That is, somebody is speaking. Which one? Other performances.
Okay. Now I have one last question. So which are other performance measurement parameters for speech enhancement?
It is basically we are having STOI, the that is STY is intelligibility measure, PESQ is perceptibility measure. Okay.
Okay.
STY is there, the subsegment SNR is there. The several methods are there, but typically nowadays people are quoting PESQ as a standard measure. Earlier,
Okay.
we used to quote SNRs, but SNR need not directly relate to the PESQ or the perceptibility. We may have a low SNR signal, but still we could get the complete message. We could have.
Okay. Okay. So this is a subjective evaluation criteria, ne? PSNR may be objective evaluation criteria.
PSNR signal, but we may not be able to get the message. So getting message is more important in speech enhancement.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, it is the objective evaluation criteria.
So
yes.
Thank you, Professor Ramamurthy. You have given nice talk.
Okay, thank you very much.
And I saw you have given a lot of analytical discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Like winner filter, you explained many things. You explained nicely. Mainly winner filter, which is always difficult to understand for the students.